friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Em and my books are everywhere. Today I'm going to be talking about a fun readathon that's hosted by the Beach Bum, Bookworm, and Storm Reads. And this was a readathon all about Murder She Wrote and reading the Murder She Wrote novelizations and continuation novels from the Murder She Wrote TV series. And this was just a quick, fun 2-week readathon. It started 2 weeks ago and it ended on Saturday, I believe. And it had 3 prompts. Now, I don't have the exact graphic. I couldn't find a link to it, so I kind of made my own based on what Storm had in her video. But there were 3 categories that you could read in. You could read in 1 or all 3. I always have to go for the most, so I read all 3. The first category was to read a Murder She Wrote book that took place in Cabot Cove, the second one that took place anywhere else in the USA, and then the third one that took place somewhere international. So for the first prompt that took place in Cabot Cove, I read Brandy and Bullets, and this is the 4th book in the series, and it also is the 4th Murder She Wrote book that I have read, even though haven't been reading them in order. So in this book, Brandy and Bullets, there's an estate that has been sold to a developer, and it's turned into an artist colony, kind of like a retreat and spa resort that an artist of any type of media can come to. So you would have writers and filmmakers and musicians and what was the other guy? There was a computer guy, but I think he did computer games. So any type of arts could come to that retreat. And during that inaugural retreat, one of the artists dies by suicide, or is it? And Jessica gets involved in the investigation because Mort, Sheriff Metzger, is not convinced that it's a suicide, and so he kind of like is pushing Jessica to do a little bit of investigation. So this was a really fun book. I do love this series. I loved the Murder She Wrote TV series so much. Jessica Fletcher has been a family favorite. When these shows were coming out, we used to watch them as a family, and my little sister, she didn't know it was Murder She Wrote. She always called it Murder She Wrote. But we had fun watching it as a family, and I just adore that TV series. And these books are just so nostalgic for me to read them. I feel like I'm just watching a new episode that I haven't seen before. The only thing is that I feel like the writer of this, Donald Bain, maybe he didn't watch the series or was not a fan as much as I am, because I feel like in the books that I've read that he's written, there's been something a little off from the continuity. For instance, there's a part here in Brandy and Bullets on page 154 where Jessica is getting ready to teach a seminar at the estate at the artist colony, and she says, "I was nervous about doing it. I don't consider myself a teacher, although I have found myself in front of a class on a few occasions, the most recent in New York City where I lectured on criminal detection." And it's true that in the TV series she did do some teaching in New York, but she was an English teacher, a high school English teacher for many years before she started writing her books in the TV series. And she's nervous about teaching and doesn't consider herself a teacher. So that just really took me out of the story. But for the most part, still, I just have such a good time with these books. So this was the one that I used for the Cabot Cove prompt. And then for the USA prompt, I read this book, which is much later in the series. This first book, I think, was published in 1995. This one was published in 2021, so written much more recently, and I feel like there was less in here that didn't jive with the TV series. So I think somewhere along the way, the writer started paying attention to what was in the series and what Jessica's story was in the series. This was a fun one where she's in South Carolina. So there was a lot of Southern things in it that was really fun to read. And stuff that I related to also. They talk about crepe myrtles, and I have crepe myrtles all over my neighborhood here. So that was a really fun. I'm not in the South at all. I'm in California. But we have crepe myrtles. So that was cool, little connection there. This was a fun story where Jessica gets involved in the mystery because she's visiting an old college friend who's been recently married, and her husband, like, everybody sees that he's such a jerk except the friend that married him. She just thinks that he's the most wonderful man, but he ends up killed in a koi pond, and Jessica's on the spot to help with the investigation. So this was another fun one. I just really had a lot of fun during this whole readathon. And then the final book that I read for the international prompt was Gin and Daggers, and this is actually, it's either book one or I think it's book one. And this one was originally published in 1989. And this one, Jessica has gone to London to meet up with an old friend who's considered the queen of mystery for the modern age. And Jessica is also speaking at the International Society of Mystery Writers. She's the keynote speaker. So she's going to the conference to do her keynote speech, but then also visiting her friend, and then her friend dies. And she's suspicious. She doesn't think that she died naturally. She thinks that she was murdered, and so she gets involved in that investigation. And again, it's so fun visiting all these characters from the TV series, and I love it. So I know there's still 50 plus books in the series that I haven't read that I am going to be working my way through here and there as I can sprinkle them in and find them. I own all of the Murder She Wrote DVDs, and I feel like I need to put these books on the shelf with the DVDs. And as I collect more of these, like, I could have a whole bookcase that's just Murder She Wrote. So I'm looking forward to that. I had a really fun time with this readathon, so thank you Beach Bum Bookworm and Storm Reads for putting this together. I really enjoyed diving into all of these Murder She Wrotes back to back. So hopefully you guys do this again sometime, and I definitely will participate. Thank you for watching, friends. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.